welcome to your deep dive. Today we'll be taking a look at a fascinating book
Oh, yeah.
called In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Ouspensky.
I know that one.
It's all about his interactions with this really interesting spiritual teacher
Okay.
named Georges Gurdjieff
Yeah.
in Russia
Mm-hmm.
in the early 20th century.
Interesting time and place.
Yeah, so you know when you read Ouspensky's account, it really makes you wonder.
What's that?
Like, have you ever just felt like everyone's kind of just going through the motions?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Like just sleepwalking through life?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like where Ouspensky starts out.
Okay, so he's like observing the people around him and...
Yeah, and he's been searching for this hidden knowledge.
Right.
And a deeper meaning to life. But the thing is,
Yeah.
Ouspensky wasn't just like some naive spiritual seeker.
Oh, so he had some background in this.
Yeah, he was already like a respected intellectual,
Mm-hmm.
a published author,
Wow, okay.
and he had traveled the world
Really?
looking for this hidden knowledge.
So he had been to all sorts of places.
Yeah, he had explored everything from like
Yeah.
Indian yogis
Okay.
to Western occult groups.
Wow, so he was serious about this.
He was really searching for something,
Right.
but
He hadn't found it yet.
there was something missing.
Yeah, what was it?
Well, he was frustrated
Okay.
with all the like mystical and often vague explanations
Yeah, I could see that.
that he encountered.
Right.
He really craved
Yeah.
a system
Okay.
that made sense,
Mm.
like something grounded in logic
Uh-huh.
and practicality.
So more of like a scientific approach.
Yeah. And then he meets Gurdjieff,
Oh, okay.
who offers him this system called the Fourth Way.
The fourth way. Okay, I've heard that.
What makes it so different from
Yeah.
other spiritual paths?
Well, Gurdjieff didn't really
Mm.
beat around the bush or anything.
What did he say?
He said that most humans are asleep,
Asleep.
living mechanically,
Okay.
driven by external influences and habits that we're not even aware of.
Ouch.
Oh,
That's not like the most uplifting
No.
assessment of humanity.
but I think he had a point though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess his point was that we're capable of so much more.
Exactly. He wasn't trying to be like a pessimist or anything.
Right.
But I think he was trying to shake people out of their...
Their complacency.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Fourth Way
Yeah.
is about awakening.
Right.
And developing this conscious will
Mm-hmm.
and transforming our being.
So it's not an easy path,
Yeah. It's not for the faint of heart.
but I think it offers a lot of potential.
Okay, so how do we even begin to, like,
Yeah.
wake up from
Yeah,
this
how do we wake up?
sleepwalking state?
Well, Gurdjieff,
Yeah.
he really emphasized
Mhm.
this self-observation,
Okay.
like really paying attention
Okay,
to our
that-
thoughts, our emotions,
Okay,
and our
okay.
actions
Okay.
without judgment.
So not being critical.
Right, just observing.
Okay.
And he even suggested, like, trying to sense your nose.
Sense my nose.
As you go about your day.
That sounds strange.
It does sound strange.
What's the point of that?
Well, it's a way to break free from
Right.
that constant stream of thoughts,
Right.
and become more present.
Okay.
He believed we waste a ton of energy
Oh, really?
on unnecessary muscular tension.
Oh, wow.
Like even just relaxing your jaw
Oh.
or unclenching your fists can free up energy.
So it's about becoming aware of our body.
Yes, it's about noticing
Okay.
those physical sensations
Right.
that often accompany our emotions.
Interesting.
Gurdjieff also taught about these different centers within us.
Centers.
Yeah, like intellectual, emotional, moving, and instinctive.
Okay.
They're like different parts of our internal machinery,
Huh.
and often they work against each other.
Oh, so they're holding us back.
Yeah, exactly. Gurdjieff had this analogy
Okay.
of the human being as a factory,
A factory.
but a really inefficient one.
Okay.
He said we're constantly leaking energy through unnecessary thoughts,
Yeah.
emotions, and actions.
Wow.
And one of the biggest energy leaks, he said,
Yeah.
comes from the misuse of the sex center.
Ooh. Okay, that's something that always kind of raises eyebrows.
Right.
What did he mean by that?
Well, he wasn't talking about like indulging or repressing
Mm-hmm.
sexual energy,
Oh, yeah.
but understanding how it's often misused
Okay.
or robbed by other centers.
Robbed. Okay, so like,
Yeah. Have you ever noticed how
yeah.
anxiety or fear can just drain your energy?
Yeah.
Gurdjieff would say that's an example
Oh.
of the emotional center,
Yeah.
stealing energy from the sex center,
Oh, wow.
preventing it from being used for its true purpose.
Okay, so what is its true purpose?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Oh, come on. Don't leave us hanging.
We'll save that part of the discussion
All right, fine.
later.
But before we jump into that,
Yeah.
can we rewind a bit?
Sure.
Gurdjieff talked about these cosmic laws The law of three and the law of seven
Yeah.
that govern everything in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
How do they fit into this
Yeah.
idea of waking up?
Well, he believed understanding these laws
Okay.
is really crucial for understanding ourselves.
Okay.
The law of three
Hmm.
states that every phenomenon
Uh-huh.
is a result of the interaction of
Oh,
three forces:
Okay, what are they?
active, passive, and neutralizing.
Okay, could you give an example?
Yeah, so think about baking a cake.
Making a cake.
You have the active force, which is the baker,
Mm-hmm.
the passive force, which is like the ingredients,
Okay.
and the neutralizing force, which
Yeah.
is like the oven.
That brings it all together.
Exactly.
So even like a simple thing like baking a cake
Yeah.
involves these cosmic forces.
Exactly. It's everywhere.
Wow.
And then the law of seven,
Octave?
also known as the law of octaves,
Mhm.
describes how processes
Yeah.
unfold in stages,
Okay.
like a musical octave.
Okay, I see.
But to move from one stage to the next,
Yeah.
we need these shocks, these
Yes.
external influences
Right.
that disrupt the status quo.
So we can't just coast along and
No, you need these shocks to shake things up.
so they can be positive or negative?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about the nature of the event itself,
Okay.
but the impact it has on our development.
Like a career change or like a personal loss?
Exactly. It's how it affects our growth.
This is starting to sound a bit like
Yeah.
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
Right.
but with like a,
A cosmic twist.
yeah.
Gurdjieff goes deeper, though.
Okay.
He explores the mechanisms of how these shocks work
Okay.
and how we can consciously use them.
For our own
For our
transformation.
own transformation, exactly.
Right, remember that concept
Yeah.
of the human being as a cosmos in miniature?
Oh, yeah. The microcosmos reflecting the macrocosmos.
Yeah.
Well, Gurdjieff believed
Yeah.
that just like the universe,
Yeah.
we are governed by these laws too. And understanding them is really essential
Yeah.
for navigating our own
internal world.
our internal landscape.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
He also had this fascinating idea about time.
Okay, time is already a mind-bending concept.
Yes.
What did he have to say about it?
He proposed that time is breath,
Time is breath.
suggesting that each cosmos,
Uh-huh.
including us,
Okay.
has its own unique breath.
So like our experience of time is different from
Yes.
the time scale of the universe.
This is a mind-blowing concept.
I have so many questions now.
I know it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Let's take a pause here for now.
Okay.
Like one of Gurdjieff's famous stop exercises.
Okay.
We'll be back soon to explore even more fascinating concepts from In Search of the Miraculous.
Oh, good.
All right, so where were we? Oh, yeah, you had a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
About Gurdjieff's ideas on time.
Yeah. But before we get to that,
Sure.
can we go back to the misuse of the sex center?
Oh, yeah, that's where his ideas get really interesting. Yeah, and maybe a
Gosh.
little controversial.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand what he meant
Yeah.
by misuse.
Yeah.
It's not about sexual activity. It's
Yeah.
about the energy.
Okay, so like how other centers can rob it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He said these other centers often rob the sex center of its energy,
Okay.
which leads to all sorts of imbalances.
Yeah.
Like we're running our internal factory on fumes instead of the high-octane fuel,
So fear, anxiety, even too much thinking
Precisely.
can all drain energy from the sex center.
They can all drain energy from the sex center.
Mm-hmm.
And Gurdjieff believed
Yeah.
this misuse was a huge obstacle to awakening.
Wow, so it's really important.
Yeah, he thought it was a major obstacle to reaching higher states.
Okay, so what's the solution?
Well, he didn't really offer a simple answer. He
Oh.
always cautioned against taking his words literally.
Okay.
He believed that true understanding requires a certain level of development. Like, you can't just intellectually grasp these concepts. You have to actually experience them.
So it's not about following a set of rules or techniques.
It's about a deeper transformation.
So we have to like change who we are.
Yeah. And that transformation often involves facing some uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
Like that we're not as conscious
Yeah.
as we think.
That we're not really in control.
Yeah.
Exactly. He had this exercise
Okay.
where he would command his students to stop.
Stop.
Yeah, just freeze in whatever position they were in.
Wow. I can imagine that would be pretty jarring.
It was meant to be.
Okay. What was the purpose?
Well, it was to break their mechanical habits,
Okay.
to interrupt the flow of unconscious thoughts and actions.
Oh.
Like, imagine you're scrolling through social media
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly someone yells, "Stop."
Yeah, I'd be startled for sure.
Right, and in that moment of shock,
Yeah.
you might become aware of how mindlessly you were engaging.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
You know?
It's like a wake-up call.
It's about disrupting those habitual patterns.
Yeah.
And creating a space for something new to emerge.
So it's not just about stopping the negative.
Right.
It's about creating space for something positive.
Exactly. And that's where things like self-remembering and working with the centers come in.
Okay.
We start to become aware of those forces that are running our lives, and then we can begin to consciously direct them.
So going back to that stop exercise, wasn't that a bit manipulative?
I mean, it could seem that way.
Yeah.
But Gurdjieff was a master at using these unconventional methods to provoke his students, to shake them out of their complacency. He understood that sometimes a little shock to the system is exactly what's needed to jolt us awake.
So it's kind of like he was a spiritual personal trainer.
Yeah, like pushing people beyond their comfort zones.
To reach their potential.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He wasn't afraid to challenge people or even make them angry sometimes.
Right.
Because he knew that those emotions could be a catalyst for growth.
So discomfort is actually a good thing in this system.
It can be. It goes against a lot of modern self-help advice.
Yeah, it does.
But Gurdjieff wasn't interested in making people feel good. He was interested in waking them up, even if it meant making them uncomfortable.
Interesting.
He had this idea that we need to sacrifice our suffering.
Sacrifice our suffering.
To progress on the path.
That sounds pretty intense.
It is, but it's not about seeking out pain or punishing ourselves.
Right.
It's about recognizing how often we cling to our suffering. We identify with it and make it part of our story.
Right.
He was challenging us to let go of those attachments.
So it's about seeing suffering not as something to avoid, but as a potential teacher.
Exactly. And he believed that this willingness to let go, to surrender to the process, was essential for real growth.
So we have to surrender to the process.
He often compared the human being to a seed. A seed has to die to itself in order to sprout and grow into a plant. We have to let go of our old patterns, our limited sense of self, if we want to blossom into something new.
That's a beautiful analogy.
It is.
But it also sounds kind of daunting.
It can be.
What if we're not ready?
That's where the work comes in. It's a gradual process of becoming more aware of ourselves, of the forces that drive our behavior, and then gradually learning to direct those forces.
In a more conscious way.
In a more conscious way.
So it's a journey.
It is.
Not an overnight transformation.
Exactly. And Gurdjieff emphasized that we can't do it alone.
Oh, so we need help.
He believed that working in groups was essential for real progress.
Okay, why is that? What's so special about groups?
Well, he observed that we often can't see our own blind spots. You know, our own mechanical reactions. But in a group setting, with the right guidance, we can start to see ourselves reflected in the eyes of others.
So it's like having a mirror held up to our soul.
Exactly. It's about accountability and support.
But it's also about something more.
Yes. Gurdjieff believed there's a certain energy that arises when people work together sincerely towards a common aim, like a synergy.
That amplifies individual efforts.
Exactly.
But group work can be really challenging.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, especially with different personalities and viewpoints.
And Gurdjieff didn't shy away from that.
Oh, really?
He often deliberately created friction within his groups, using provocations and challenges
to push people
out of their comfort zones.
So he's creating those shocks.
Exactly.
But on a group level?
On a group level, exactly. He believed those moments of conflict, when handled consciously, could lead to breakthroughs.
In understanding.
Yeah. And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of his teaching.
What?
The Enneagram.
The Enneagram, I've heard of that, but I don't really know what it is.
So it's a 9-pointed symbol that Gurdjieff used to represent the different types of human beings and the ways we perceive and interact with the world. Each point on the Enneagram corresponds to a specific personality type with its own strengths, weaknesses, and patterns of behavior.
So it's like a personality test.
It's much more than that. Gurdjieff believed the Enneagram was a map.
A map.
Of the human psyche. A tool for understanding those deeper forces.
That's Rivas.
Exactly.
Okay, can you give me an example?
Sure, let's take the type known as the helper.
Okay.
People of this type are often compassionate, generous and caring. They have a natural desire to help others.
That sounds pretty positive.
It is, but like all the types,
Yeah.
it has its shadow side.
Oh, so there's downsides.
Yeah, helpers can sometimes be overly focused on others, neglecting their own needs.
Right.
They can also be people pleasers,
Hmm.
afraid of conflict,
Yeah.
and have a hard time setting boundaries.
So even the seemingly positive types
Exactly.
have their challenges.
Every type has its challenges.
Okay.
And Gurdjieff believed that the Enneagram
Yeah.
could help us to see both our strengths and our weaknesses
Okay.
and understand how our type influences our behavior.
So it's not about labeling ourselves.
Right.
It's about using this for self-awareness.
It's about understanding that everyone is on their own unique journey
Yeah.
with their own set of challenges.
And potentials.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how all these ideas connect.
Yeah.
The law of 3, the law of 7,
The centers.
the centers, the Enneagram,
This whole system.
for understanding the human being and the universe.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a system for awakening,
For breaking free.
breaking free from our mechanical existence.
Yeah.
And realizing our full potential.
But it's not a quick fix. It's a journey that requires effort and commitment.
And a willingness to face those uncomfortable truths.
Okay, so we've talked about the stop exercise.
Yeah.
Working with the centers, understanding the cosmic laws,
The Enneagram.
the Enneagram.
Yeah.
What other tools or practices?
Oh, he had a whole arsenal of them.
Did he offer?
But one of the most important and often overlooked
Okay.
is the concept of objective art.
Objective art.
Okay.
That sounds pretty esoteric.
It is.
What is it?
So he believed that most of the art that we encounter is subjective.
Okay.
It expresses the artist's personal feelings and interpretations.
Okay.
But objective art, he said, is created from a higher state of consciousness.
Oh, wow.
It's not about the artist's ego.
Cool.
It's about transmitting universal truths.
So the art itself becomes like a vehicle for higher knowledge.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he believed that experiencing objective art
Yeah.
could have a profound impact on the viewer or listener.
So it's not just about aesthetics.
No.
It's about transformation.
Precisely.
Okay.
Gurdjieff believed that objective art could act as a kind of shock to the system.
Another shock.
You need those shocks,
Okay.
disrupting our habitual patterns of perception and opening us up to new possibilities.
That's fascinating. So he wasn't just a spiritual teacher. He was an artist
Yeah.
and a musician
He was.
himself.
And he used his artistic talents to create what he called sacred dances or movements.
That were designed to transmit knowledge.
Yes, and help people develop their inner capacities.
Wow. It sounds like Gurdjieff was way ahead of his time.
He was a visionary, a true original,
Yeah.
and his teachings continue to inspire and challenge people
Yeah.
just as they did a century ago.
This deep dive has definitely been challenging,
Yeah.
but also incredibly eye-opening.
I'm glad.
It's like you've given me a whole new lens for viewing myself
That's great to hear.
and the world.
That's the beauty of Gurdjieff's work.
Yeah.
It's not about providing answers.
Okay.
It's about asking the right questions,
Right.
provoking us to look deeper
Yeah.
and to question everything we thought we knew.
So as we approach the end of our exploration of In Search of the Miraculous,
Yeah.
what's like the one key takeaway you hope listeners will remember?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
His teaching is so rich and multifaceted,
Yeah.
but if I had to choose just one thing, it's the idea that we have a choice.
Oh, okay. A choice between what?
Well, a choice between sleepwalking and waking up.
Okay, so we can choose to be more conscious.
Yeah, Gurdjieff didn't really sugarcoat it.
Yeah, what did he say?
He said most of us are asleep.
Right.
We're living mechanically, but
Yeah.
he offered a path
Okay, the path to
awakening,
becoming more aware.
to becoming more conscious and intentional
Yeah.
in our lives.
So we have to make that choice.
We do, and it's not an easy path.
It sounds like it takes a lot of work.
It does. It takes effort, honesty,
Mm-hmm.
and a willingness to challenge our assumptions
About ourselves.
about ourselves and the world. Yeah.
But it sounds like it's worth it.
Oh, the rewards are definitely worth it.
Like, what are some of those rewards?
Well, potential for growth,
Okay.
deeper understanding,
Mm-hmm.
genuine connection
With ourselves.
with ourselves and with others.
Yeah.
That's what makes Gurdjieff's teaching so compelling.
So let's say someone's listening right now
Okay.
and they're thinking, all right, I'm ready to wake up.
Yeah.
Where do I even begin? What's the first step?
Start with awareness.
Okay.
Gurdjieff called it self-remembering.
Self-remembering. Okay.
Pay attention to your thoughts, your emotions, your actions.
Yeah.
Just notice how often you're reacting mechanically
Without thinking.
without really thinking. Yeah.
So it's about becoming aware of those patterns.
Yes, and interrupting them.
And what about those centers we talked about?
We'll start by just observing them.
Observing them. Okay.
Notice how different centers dominate at different times. Okay.
Like, are you mostly in your head,
First thinking.
analyzing, overthinking?
Sure.
Or are you swept away by your emotions?
Okay.
Or are you primarily focused on physical sensations?
Okay, so just noticing those patterns.
Just noticing is a huge step.
Okay, and then from there.
You can start to work on bringing them into balance.
And Gurdjieff had all these exercises.
He did. He had specific exercises for working with the centers.
But those are best explored in a group setting.
Yeah, with proper guidance.
All right, and speaking of groups, he really emphasized working together.
He did.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was so important to him?
I think it's because we can't really awaken alone.
I think you're right.
We need that support and challenge
reflection
from other people who are on the same path.
Yeah, it's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
So for someone listening who's intrigued by all of this but feeling overwhelmed, where do they start?
Don't try to do it all at once.
Okay.
Start small.
Pick one practice.
Pick one practice, like self-remembering.
Okay.
Commit to it for a week, even just for a day. See what happens. Read Ouspensky's book.
Slowly.
Slowly, thoughtfully.
Okay.
Don't worry about understanding every detail.
Right.
Let the ideas percolate.
Just absorb them.
And be patient with yourself.
Okay.
Awakening is a process.
It's not an event.
Not an event.
So we're planting seeds
But
that might take time to sprout.
It's not about instant gratification.
And Gurdjieff's teaching.
Yeah.
It's about more than just personal growth.
Right. It's about contributing to a better world.
He really believed that individual transformation leads to a better society.
He had this vision.
Of what?
Of a world where people are awake to their true potential.
Okay.
Living in alignment with the cosmic laws.
Yeah.
Working together for the common good.
That's a powerful vision.
It's a vision that's more relevant than ever today.
Yeah, I agree.
So really, Gurdjieff was offering a path to a more enlightened world.
Not just personal enlightenment, but a better world for everyone.
Exactly. And his teaching is a gift.
A gift.
It's like a treasure map to a richer and more meaningful existence.
Wow.
It's up to us.
To decide if we want to follow it?
To decide if we're willing to follow the map and discover the treasure.
This has been a wild ride.
It has.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. But if there's one thing I hope you take away from this, it's that there's so much more to life than we realize.
Yeah, and that we have the power to awaken to that potential.
Individually and collectively.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. And I encourage everyone listening to explore Ouspensky's book,
In Search of the Miraculous,
for a deeper dive into this world.
It's a book that can really change your life.
If you let it.
And the first step towards awakening is recognizing that we might be asleep.
That's where the real adventure begins.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into In Search of the Miraculous.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep awakening.